Assalamu alaikum, brothers and sisters. What happened this time? Why I'm talking about this issue? Why it is so important for all of us? Why we should not be malleable, naive, gullible to believe that we are living in a world that is very, very stable, very, very peaceful. Well, maybe for now, but soon it is going to change. So what I'm talking about? Let me tell you a few things before I mention to you this particular, as you can see right here, this particular thing. Let me tell you a few things. In the past, we have seen how Russia and NATO, they were going back and forth. Sometimes Russia would issue threats, harsh rhetoric. Some other times it will be NATO. And that's really all about it. It was just word. Nothing more than that. But now that is changing. In the past, we have also seen how US was very keen on supplying weapons to Ukraine. Sometimes they did, sometimes they did not. Ukraine, remember, they complained to US many times, and they said, we are not getting the weapon we need to fight this battle. And they issued ultimatum to US that if you want us to win this war, if you want Russia to be defeated, you must give us these weapons. Let's not be malleable anymore. Let's not be naive. Let's have some sense. Let's talk about this particular issue that popped up on my news feed this morning, and this is very, very dangerous. So what happened? Why I'm sharing this with you? The end of time MALHAMA. The end of time MALHAMA can be understood in two different ways. MALHAMA that are taking place outside the Muslim or Islamic countries' scope, and MALHAMA that are taking place within the Muslim countries that would also sometimes include the non-Muslims. And that MALHAMA, Muslim, non-Muslim, both engaged in a warfare, will take place under the leadership of the Mahdi. That's the good news that we have. And this is perhaps, with all of these feckless leaders that we have sitting on their thrones doing nothing for the Ummah, it is perhaps because Allah Azza wa Jal is going to give us the Mahdi. His leadership and his warriorship would inshallah make us victorious over all other nations. Now, this MALHAMA that I just mentioned to you under Mahdi will take place end of time, but there will be other MALHAMA, as I said. So this MALHAMA, it is between the non-Muslims. So what happened this time? This time, as you can see on the screen, NATO actually is now going to not only talk but also walk the talk. How? Let's see here. I'm sorry for the pictures, they are very bad. I'm sorry. Please lower your gaze. It comes with the news website. I'm sorry. So it says NATO massively, they will expand their army to in order to deter further Putin aggression. This is dangerous. Now, if you remember what Putin said a few days ago, he said, if you get involved in this conflict between Russia and Ukraine, you will face consequences you have never seen in the past. Now, let me tell you one very scary thing. Only a day ago, it was US and the NATO allies, they mentioned that NATO, one of the army generals, he mentioned that Putin is actually going to be attacking NATO countries. And I believe it was a ex-UK army general. He said that again, Russia is going to get involved and invade and attack NATO countries. Why it is dangerous? For the obvious reason, in their article, they mention, I believe Article 5, one attack on any country of this NATO member is an attack on all countries. So let me read a few things here, then you will understand. NATO is preparing to expand its army in response to Russia's invasion of Ukraine. According to Sky News security and defense editor Deborah, The military alliance has been forced to rethink the way it can deter the aggressive ambitions of Russian President Vladimir Putin in Europe. She reported, Moscow's assault on Ukraine, which isn't a NATO member, has added urgency to the organization's long-standing but stalled defense plans. Why it is so important and why she is saying all of this at the moment? It is because they are now convinced, dear brothers and sisters. Let me tell you this. NATO, the Western allies, they are now convinced the prophecy about MALHAMA that even is mentioned in their own text, religious texts like the Bible, the Old Testament, New Testament talks about the end of time, MALHAMA, Qiyamah, even in their own text, they are very, very specific that this phenomenon is taking place. Are they following the prophecy because they want to fulfill this prophecy? Do they have any ulterior motive? Because the reason I'm saying that this is because the evangelical Christian in US, they are very, very wealthy. They have a lot of wealth and they support any war to defend Israel. If you take a look at US's interest in Ukraine, it is unbelievable. They have spent millions and billions of dollars, and this money, they're coming from these evangelical Christians who are supporting Israel. And they believe that Russia is their enemy. Russia is the Antichrist. In fact, in some of the scriptures, some of the passages in the Bible, it is specifically mentioned that Russia is actually Gog, Ya'juj. Turkey, Iran, Uzbekistan, China, these are Ma'juj, okay, Gog and Magog. Therefore, it is now to them a religious obligation to really defend Ukraine and fight against Russia. Remember, Ukraine Zelensky is a pro-Israeli. He's a Zionist. He supports Israel. So supporting him by these evangelical Christians is like supporting Israel and fighting against Russia. The military alliance has been forced to rethink its way. Why now? Well, it is because they have, I'm pretty sure, solid, concrete evidence that Russia is going to be attacking NATO countries. That was warned by a former UK army chief. I think he was like a general or something. Therefore, the malhama that we talk about, dear brothers and sisters, it is inevitable. It is going to happen. Quote, overnight the mentality changed. So see how things can change. Again, I'm sorry for the photo. I'm really sorry. I should hide it. Things can change and will change pretty fast, and it did. Mentality of NATO has changed. Remember when Mahdi will be here, what was the hadith? The Mahdi will be here, and he will not go through changes for 6 months, 1 year, or even 1 week. Allah Azza wa Jal will change him in one night. My point here, when we will see the end of time coming, the Qiyamah coming, it will be very, very fast. Things have escalated so much now with this Ukraine invasion that you'll be foolish. You'll be foolish to believe that things will go back to normal with Russia. It is never going to go back to normal with Russia ever. Well, at least what I can see. In fact, it is going to get worse and worse and worse. How worse? Until we see a nuclear weapon, a war with a nuclear weapon. So overnight, mentality changed, quote, an unnamed NATO officer told Heinz, NATO now, quote, NATO now feels like it is electrified against who? Russia. You can feel the energy surging through the system. Perfect. So, in other words, they are saying, NATO is saying right now that we are ready to fight and nothing is going to stop us. Why? Because we are now charged. We have so much enthusiasm, and courage and willingness to fight against the Russian invasion of Ukraine, bringing the whole world on one platform, which is fight against Russia. If you don't, you are going to be treated as our enemy. And this is something that we have seen in the last few days. Diplomacy taking place, Western powers, they're calling on India, China, every country to shun Russia. They said, if you go with Russia, don't, because you are then financing a country that is violating other countries' sovereignty. Well, that is another topic. That is another thing that we'll talk inshallah later on. But the point here is that the end of time malhama, the end of time fitan, it is only getting worse. I talk about LGBT community, how they're spreading like wildfire. Right now, 30% teenager, they identify themselves to be a LGBT member. 30%. And I also made another video in year 2054. The way it is going, the trend, according to Gallup poll, the trend, the trajectory will take us, all of us, to become gays and lesbian by 2054. At least at one point, we will not see LGBTQ as something that is prohibited in Islam. We're already actually seeing that. A lot of shuyukh, sellouts, they're justifying LGBTQ. They're saying gay marriages, we must support them politically. I'm against it in terms of religion, but in terms of political rights, I'm with it. What do you mean by that? What do you mean you are with them politically? And this was said by who? Yasir Qadi. Islam is not for you to support an evil politically and withdraw your support morally. It doesn't work that way. Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu udkhulu fi silmi kaffa. Oh, you believe, enter into this religion as a whole. Do not pick and choose. So we are seeing that Muslim, shuyukh speakers, they are justifying LGBTQ gays and lesbians, their action, their behavior, no problem. We also have other fitan, porn addiction. We have people leaving Islam, the religion of Islam, people not believing in God anymore. The number is increasing. It is getting just worse. The fitan is increasing. It is not decreasing. So dear brothers and sisters, this malhama is going to only add more to the fitan. This battle between the NATO, Russia, Western powers, it is only going to make things much worse. Much worse. Wallahi. May Allah protect all of us. I have a few comments here that I'll read. Zay, yo, Malhama is coming soon. Zay, Mash, inshallah. Muhammad Faisal, Muhammad Faizat, Jazakallah khair, brother Z and Faisal. If you have any comment, any question, let me know in the comment section below. Inshallah, I'll see you in the next video. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.